The Super Bowl is this Sunday, but will also be a Super Sunday for the Hawkeye men's basketball team. Find out on Incompetent Sports Talk. Welcome to another edition of Incompetent Sports Talk, along with Mike Raven and John Loperena. I'm Alex Salzma, and just a few days ago, the Australian Open was completed. Roger Federer, in a three-set match with Andy Murray, beat him. 16th major for Roger Federer, and now he's two ahead of Pete Sampras, who had 14th. Mike, you know, it wasn't as good of a match as I thought it was going to be. It seemed like the only real competitive set was the third set, and I think if the whole match was as good as that third set, it might have been pretty exciting. I
agree. I think Andy Murray did a great job of showing up and trying. Roger Federer's just got that experience. In interviews afterwards, you could tell he talked about how his life isn't just about tennis. You know, his family. He talked about being in better shape, and he's able to appreciate these moments more. And Murray, he's got a bright future ahead of himself. He's got majors in his future. And, you know, Britain hasn't won a men's major championship since 1936. So I think Murray will get there one of these days. But, you know, Federer, he's clearly the king.
Yeah, and Murray 0-2 now in majors. Both of those were against Roger Federer. The other was the 2008 U.S. Open. And Roger Federer doesn't really just throw around praise a lot, but he did say in his post-game speech that the majors would be in Murray's future. And I think, you know, when you look at him play, I think it's really evident that he will have some success in his future.
One other thing that I appreciate about the game of tennis, and especially these two gentlemen, is you could see Murray tearing up as he was giving his runner-up speech. And even Federer, you know, he didn't tear up, but you can just see the passion and how much commitment it takes to get where they're at. So despite, you know, Murray not getting the win and winning the major, it's extremely impressive that he's able to get to that point, especially at such a young age.
And now we got 3 more majors left this year. Does Federer win any more?
I think he does. I mean, Nadal is clearly battling injuries. I think Roddick is going to compete. But in the end, I mean, I think Federer's got to be the favorite in most of these tournaments. Maybe Clay, you never know. I mean, he won his first French Open last year. I don't know. If Nadal's healthy, I think he's clearly the favorite on Clay. But I think Federer wins Wimbledon, and he might win the U.S. Open as well.
And the Clay made Federer look a little more human last year. He had a lot of 5-set matches where he had to struggle to win. That's what I think made that French Open really exciting to watch. And you could tell he was savoring every moment of it after because he finally got the career Grand Slam. And I hope, just for the game of tennis, I think Federer is such a good representative of that game. And really, he's put the game on the map. Not only in the United States, he's kind of made it more popular, but really around the world. I mean, a guy from Switzerland playing the kind of tennis he does, it's truly an international sport, tennis. You only see a few really, really quality players, it seems like, from each country.
Right, and he does it the right way. And like I said earlier, family is a big part of his life. He's got a couple kids now, and he's really, you know, getting to the point where it's family and tennis, and I think his family experiences are really helping him on the court. It's helping him mature more as an individual, and that's helping his performance.
And that's the motivation now. He even said in an interview I was watching that he wants to be able to win a major when his 2 kids are old enough to actually be able to remember it and experience it and watch it, which I think is pretty neat.
Absolutely.
And last Sunday was the Australian Open, which is pretty big in my calendar at least. But this Sunday, even if you don't watch sports, everybody watches the Super Bowl, and it's the 16-2 Colts versus the 15-3 Saints. Jordan, who do you like in this Super Bowl?
Who do I like or who I think is going to win?
I do that a lot. I say that a lot. Who do you think is going to win? Let's say that.
I think the Colts are going to win, but I do think it's going to be a lot closer than, you know, I guess the experts would think. New Orleans just has such an impressive offense. I really thought they were going to do more damage against the Vikings. I thought that game was going to be a little bit more – I didn't think it was going to come down to overtime. I thought New Orleans was going to win that one, you know, by midway through the 4th quarter. I just really think the Colts, they're the type of team, one, the performance Peyton Manning put on in the AFC Championship game was unbelievable. He's the type of quarterback. He's been there before. He's not going to really have too many nerves getting to him, you know, before the game. And it's a team of guys that know how to win. They know how to win. They know how to win big game. They know how to win the Super Bowl. Jim Caldwell, Dallas Clark, Iowa guys, Bob Sanders, even though he hasn't played most of the season, he's an Iowa guy. You got to like that. So I think Indianapolis wins. Not sure who I'm absolutely rooting for yet, but I really want New Orleans to make a game out of this. I don't want it to be a blowout like it was when the Colts, took down my Bears in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and building on what you said, Manning, just an incredible game against the Jets, 377 yards in the air and 3 touchdowns, and that was against the #1 ranked pass defense in the NFL, and 30 points on the #1 ranked scoring defense in the NFL. So really impressive performance by the Colts, and kind of like you said about the experience. They've been there before. Caldwell was saying, we've got 25 guys who've won a Super Bowl on this team, and that's pretty impressive, Mike.
Absolutely. The interesting thing about these two teams is if you look at them statistically on paper, they're fairly similar, they're fairly even. Defensively, the Colts have 34 sacks this season, and the Saints have 35. You look offensive-wise, the only real major difference is the Saints rush for about 50 more yards a game. But honestly, there's not a lot of huge differences. Where I see big differences is Peyton Manning, and like you guys said, the experience of these players being there before, understanding how it's played. Now, granted, that argument doesn't always work. The Patriots were there undefeated a few years ago, lost to the Giants, so you never know what's going to happen. But I think the Colts, Peyton Manning, they're the winningest team of the decade. They know how to win big games. I think if they had played all their players every game, they probably would be undefeated right now. And as you said, Alex, the key point, what they did to the Jets, a great defense, really clearly makes them the favorite in my mind, and I do think they're going to win, hard-fought, close game. The Saints really didn't impress me that much in the NFC Championship game. Minnesota beat themselves. Minnesota 5 turnovers at horrible times in the red zone. Of course, Brett Favre's interception was, no one really knows what was going through his mind on that play. But I like the Colts. I really think that they're going to get it done.
And a lot of people want to knock the rushing game of the Colts, a lot of these pundits, but 4.2 yards per carry against the Jets, and one of the best defenses in the NFL, actually the best defense scoring-wise in the NFL. And so I think that's pretty impressive too. Maybe not throughout the whole season the Colts are running the ball that great, but you know what? When it counts, when it's crunch time, they did. And you take a look at the Colts defense putting up good numbers in the playoffs. The Ravens and Jets only combined for 173 rushing yards against Indianapolis, but yet the Saints do like to throw the ball more, but you got Reggie Bush back there.
Yeah, and Drew Brees has had a phenomenal season, as we all know. He's a true leader, and just because I predict the Colts are going to win, that takes nothing away from the type of season he's had. Reggie Bush, kind of hot and cold. He looked like a stud, and then last week, that fumble that luckily Adrian Butterfingers Peterson kind of helped him out right after that, but that could have been game over right before halftime there. So. It'll come down, as a lot of games do, to teams making mistakes. Who makes the good not a good mistake, but who makes the least? And you mentioned the Colts running game. They have 3 guys that aren't featured a whole lot in that offense, but Joseph Adai, Donald Brown, and Mike Hart can all break away from a defense, and they can also all pound the ball right up the middle. 3 pretty physical backs, so I don't know, it'll be good. And I think personally that Darrelle Revis of the Jets was the defensive player of the year in the NFL this year, and Peyton Manning had a field day. It didn't matter what side of the field he was throwing to against the Jets. So.
Well, not only is there depth at the running back position for the Colts, but if you look at wide receiver, Mount Union's own Pierre Garçon and Austin Collie have done a great job this year of really filling a role that the Colts were unsure of at the beginning of the year. And obviously the stalwarts like Dallas Clark and Reggie Wayne are going to be there, and they both had 100 receptions each during the regular season. And so the Colts are deeper than people think. It's not always the big name guys, but they find players and they get players that fill their role and do it the right way.
And that says a lot too about the Colts. They have 2 featured players who. Garçon and Collie really won them that AFC championship from the wide receiver position, and BYU and, as you mentioned, Mount Union. So good scouting on behalf of the Colts, and then obviously Iowa and Miami with Clark and Wayne. But, they're kind of pulling these guys out of nowhere, and they're getting to the Super Bowl with them. Marvin Harrison, who? I mean,